Hey, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the pharmacology of amphetamine. So basically, the amphetamine is a drug which that also used for the recreational purpose, and it is a lead to cause addiction. But some other thing is that the treatment of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder with a low dose and narcolepsy and obesity, which that can be treated due to the amphetamine. Let's understand about the whole story of the amphetamine. So this is the person basically contain a central nervous system, is the brain and spinal cord. Mostly the amphetamine affect on the brain, the neuron, the dopaminergic neuron. Remember about that thing. The amphetamine basically contain amine group here and the hydrocarbon ring like benzene. So in this way, amphetamine when targeted to the brain, it means that in reality the mesolimbic pathway involved. So the mesolimbic pathway is involved for releasing of the dopamine extra and reuptake inhibition. So we will understand the whole story. So please watch the whole video to understand. This will lead to a mesolimbic pathway activation due to the amphetamine. It will lead to increase the dopamine, the neurotransmitter, and norepinephrine neurotransmitter. This exocytosis of the neurotransmitter will lead to circuitry reward. This circuitry reward will lead to performance on the basis of dose dependency. If the more dose, so the reuptake of the dopamine will not occur in this way. You will mostly basically increase the activity and a lot more things. So increase the dopamine will lead to increase the pleasure, libido, etc. The risk factor is the addiction, a rapid muscle breakdown, and psychosis, as well as the cardiovascular disease. Psychosis means delusion and illusion. And glaucoma and mania can be occurred. The maniac purpose. So in this, the maniac can be occurred. The madness, the use of drug medically, the attention deficit hyperactivity, ADHD recovery, and the narcolepsy, the sleep disorder, as well as the depression and pain. So remember about that things. Basically, the hyperactivity disorder prevention by the amphetamine can be possible, but it can slow down the process, but it will not completely recover it because it is the drug. It requires daily enhancing performance also because it is recreational drug. Athletes also use the physical performance and recreational and weight training. On the other hand, the contraindication can be the cardiovascular issue, and glaucoma can be possible by the chronic consumption of the amphetamine drug. Hyperthyroidism, hypertension, anorexia nervosa, the loss of appetite, and bipolar disorder. And basically bipolar disorder, which that I have video, you can watch that. And psychosis, and Tourette syndrome, agitation, allergic reaction can be possible. Anyhow, on the other hand, let's understand about the dopamine and etc, like the dose dependency of the amphetamine and how it can work. So the dopamine basically is the neurotransmitter are present only in the brain, which that release as a neurotransmitter bind with the other neuron like the motor neuron to excite, and it is excitatory neuron, not inhibitory. The dopamine is important neurotransmitter, basically lead to excite the other synaptic neuron, lead to basically synaptogenesis, cognition, the happiness, learning, satisfaction, pleasure, enjoy, and libido, as well as orgasm. A lot central nervous system related symptoms can be possible due to the deficiency of the dopamine. The dopamine is very important neurotransmitter which that play important function in the body coordination. The dose dependency of the amphetamine will lead to change the releasing of the dopamine neurotransmitter. For example, overdose cause nausea, vomiting, bipolar disorder can be possible, and the normal dose cause addiction to overdose, so progressively. Amphetamine basically inhibits the reuptake of dopamine in synaptic cleft. In this way, dopamine remain in extracellular matrix and dopamine receptor affinity increase due to the amphetamine consumption, more consumption of the amphetamine. Let's understand about the major mechanism and the synapse and the dopaminergic neuron and the receiving of the dopamine via a postsynaptic neuron to excitation. In this video, we will understand whole detail. So please watch that whole video. So here is the brain, basically, which that contain interneuron and a lot more neuron like GABAergic neuron and the on the other hand the glutamatergic neuron or adrenergic neuron. So in this video we will understand about the presynaptic neuron as a dopaminergic neuron. So remember about that thing, the dopamine receptor, a lot more receptor are present in the dopamine. So we will understand the shortly for understanding the amphetamine. So here is the postsynaptic neuron and presynaptic neuron. Pre is the dopaminergic neuron which that excite the other neuron like the postsynaptic neuron. Here is the synaptic vesicle with VMAT dopamine, so containing vesicle. So in this way, here is the channel which that allow to dopamine move outside. So remember, the dopamine will move out, but the neurotransmitter basically it will also exocytosis. The neurotransmitter dopamine in the synapse will bind with the other neuron. So on the other hand, here is the dopamine basically excite and the amphetamine. So this is the amphetamine drug diffuse easily into the nervous system, so that diffusion can be possible whenever it will be diffused. So in this way the work will possible. So the dopamine basically whenever increase in the synapse where the synapses occur, the extracellular matrix. So in this way, remember the synaptic vesicle with VMAT, the VMAT2, basically basically it release the dopamine outside. So remember about that things. And in this way, so basically important thing you should need to understand is that the very important, this is the competitive reuptake the dopamine transporter where the amphetamine also transport but the amphetamine diffuse into the neuron. So that is very amazing thing is that the diffusion. So the dopamine when diffuse into the presynaptic neuron, the dopaminergic neuron, in this way it will increase the basically releasing of the dopamine from the synaptic vesicle, and it will rush into the intracellular matrix and it will activate the trace amine-associated receptor 1, basically phenylalanine and amphetamine combined together, and in this is the combined together to activate the protein kinase A and protein kinase C phosphorylation, and this will lead to phosphorylation to activate the dopamine transporter to deactivate. So that internalization will occur. In this way, this receptor which that is important for the reuptake of the dopamine, but it will impossible when the amphetamine combine with the basically dopamine to activate the protein kinase N and protein kinase C. Activation and phosphorylation to dopamine reuptake will impossible. How? Because this receptor will deactivate due to the phosphorylation, and the phosphorylated that the dopaminergic transporter channel which that internalization will lead to inhibit the reuptake of the dopamine. This is the important things, and in this the dopamine will remain in the extracellular matrix for binding again and again with the postsynaptic neuron to excitation again and again. So in this way, here is the phosphorylated that will remain inside of the cell, intracellular of the neuron, near the synaptic cleft, so near the synapse, or the knob of the presynaptic neuron, like the dopaminergic neuron. And in this way, this phosphorylated dat basically whenever dephosphorylation lead to again bind for the dopamine release. So in this way, this will lead to release the dopamine due to the phosphorylation. So the phosphorylation will lead to cause release of the dopamine rather than the dephosphorylated for the reuptake of the dopamine. On the other hand, the exocytosis of the neurotransmitter will increase due to the amphetamine. So how it is possible? That is due to the synaptic vesicle bind with the plasma membrane and will lead to increase the dopamine 2 receptor also for excitation more itself. So it is known as the auto receptor. This autoreceptor will receive the dopamine to increase the exocytosis of the neurotransmitter dopamine and will lead to bind with the dopamine 2 receptor to excitation of the other neuron. So in this way, the cognitive improvement and other things can be possible, and the madness, the maniac shock can be possible. And on the other hand, the memory loss and the more excited situation due to this coordination, and the coordination in the brain, alertness and more energetic. That is why the dopamine increase will lead to more energetic. So this amphetamine, whenever basically it will lead to inhibit the reuptake of the dopamine, but the increase the release of the dopamine due to the phosphorylated dopaminergic reuptake transporter channel to phosphorylate to release the dopamine rather than the reuptake. On the other hand, here is the mesolimbic nucleus accumbens involved for the paraventricular nucleus, and the infundibular arcuate nucleus will basically trigger to activate the prolactin inhibition due to the amphetamine, while it will trigger the paraventricular nucleus and infundibular arcuate nucleus to release the dopamine by this mechanism. So I hope you make sense about that. If you like my video, please make sure to subscribe, like and share. So see in the next video. For this, bye. In this video we have discussed about the pharmacology of amphetamine and how the amphetamine will interact with our brain. So bye for this time.